Okay, Herman May, um, originally from Birmingham, Alabama. Was born in Lowndes County, which is 100 some miles from Birmingham. And at the age of 11, we moved to Birmingham from the rural section of Haynesville, where there was no running water, there was no electric lights, everything was primitive. And to me, to move to the city, to where I'd come in and flip a switch and the lights came on, and where I could go and take a bath and turn the faucet on, the water came out. Well, I didn't have to go to the pool to draw water, to bring it in the house, to heat it up, put it in a tub to take a bath. Then after that, take the water and throw it away. All they do was pull a plug, and the water was gone. So everything was pretty primitive. So it was almost like, just going to heaven, really. Moving from the country to the city. So I spent my growing up years there in Birmingham, and graduated from Rosedale High School, and started working at my dad was working at a motel, so I started working there, and making very little amount of money. In fact, the money that was made was mostly on tips from people coming in, because the salary was really nothing. And so in 1962, a friend of mine, we decided to come to California for better opportunities of life, better living. And so we drove to California. First job was at a car wash for $1.35 an hour. And then after that, looked around for jobs. Finally started working at Mattel Toys for $1.63 an hour. And worked there from 1962 to 1965, where I was able to get a job at the Gulf Oil Refinery. And I moved up to $2.50 an hour, which was really pretty decent money at that time. So I spent 29 years at the refinery. Moved up from operator. In fact, I had, was hourly in the union when I started. In the 1970s, they promoted me to a fire marshal. So I was in a fire marshal for a few years, then I moved to accident prevention supervisor, then back into the operating units as a foreman of one of the units. And in 1998, they decided to shut the refinery down. So I sent my resumes. I was offered a job for Hess, which they had a refinery in the Virgin Islands, St. Croix. And so I was offered the job. In fact, they flew me and my wife down for a week. Spent a week in St. Croix and an interview. And I was supposed to call the people back that next Monday morning after I got back home to let them know whether I would accept or reject the job. Sunday, before this, we'll make the decision, I got up in church and let them know that I'd be leaving. Of course, everybody was disappointed. And one of the older gentlemen there said, I want to pray that you don't have to go. And that Monday morning I went in to my job, and one of the vendors, from the chemical vendors came in and wanted to talk to me and said, my boss would like to talk to you, like to offer you a job. So I was supposed to call Emerald Heads back in New Jersey, which at 10 o'clock their time, 7 o'clock our time. So I was supposed to call him first thing that morning. Well, he came in that morning early, and I called him up and told him that I wouldn't be accepting the job. And I accepted the job working for a chemical company here. And so from that, I worked with a chemical outfits until I was retired in 2005. I decided to sit around and watch TV and watch every episode of Gunsmoke. And got to be a real good friend with Matt Dillon, Chester, Miss Kitty, till I got tired of that. And they recruited me to come back into work. So in 2005, yeah, I went back to work for a chemical company as a private consultant. Worked there until 2011. Then I decided to just retire totally. And first came to California, lived in 120th in Maine. Moved from 120th in Maine to what's the projects? Imperial Courts, yeah. And stayed in Imperial Courts for a few years, and moved into a house on 124th in Willowbrook. Stayed there for 1965, and my wife and I purchased a home in Compton, where I presently live I've been living there since 1969. Yeah, in Compton on 1220 Stoneacre. Anyway, raised 6 kids, and have raised two of my grandkids. Then the others, as they came along, but Mark and Michelle lived with us all their life, so raised them. And that's basically my story, although.
Okay, can you tell me about your parents and your grandparents?
I can tell you about my parents. I only knew my grandmother, my dad's mother. That's the only grandparent that I really knew. The rest of them are deceased before I was born, So my grandmother, I believe she passed away when I was probably about 9 years old. I remember my grandmother. My mom, very mild-mannered, good-natured woman. My dad, a farmer. In fact, the reason we moved from Lowndes County to Birmingham because of economics, for a better life. He moved us there, and we And we just spent most of our time growing up there in Birmingham. In fact, when we moved to Birmingham, it was 6 girls, and 1 boy, with a 2-bedroom apartment. And anybody that came to visit, they stayed with us. So where everybody stayed, you know, we made pilots on the floor or whatever. But I guess my parents took the attitude that if there's big enough room if you got room enough in your heart, then there's room enough in the house. And so we were all very family orientated. My dad, very religious man. In fact, wasn't educated, but very smart. In fact, I have a saying that the older I get, the smaller he get, because what he accomplished with his limitations, had he been more capable with an education, don't tell her what he could have done, you know. But with the limitation he had, of course, that's a different day at a different time. That's why I say that he was a very smart man. Raised 9 kids. Nobody ever went to jail. Everybody grew up in the church. Know how to respect people. And so my parents, I would say, were great people. Yeah.
Can you describe like a time that you remember with your mom? Like something that you did with her?
My mom was like I said, very mild-mannered woman. Sometimes I would have disagreements with my dad, and I would go to her and she would say, "Well, that's your daddy." She would never let me know that she was siding with me over him. But later he would come back after they got behind the closed doors, and she convinced him that he was wrong, so he would let me know. But she was a very mild-mannered woman, very loving, soft-spoken, but when she said something, she meant what she said. So some of the best times with her was just been with Mama. Yeah. She loved us all, and she wasn't discriminative with any of us. She treated everybody the same. All my nieces, I'm sorry, my nephews, all my first cousins, they all had a lot of respect for her. They all call her auntie, and I would say she's the best woman I've ever known.
So when was the introduction in terms of your relationship with God? Like you said, your parents would take you to church, all those things. When did that foundation start for you?
From day one. My dad has always been in the church. In fact, we would have church at home if we didn't go. In fact, we would meet up sometime with other families, spend all day in one location having church. Uh,
So, can you tell me how you met your wife?
we live in the same neighborhood. In fact, we had that was during the time when they had telephones with party lines. Everybody didn't have their own individual phones. You have phone with your neighbor, so she happened to be on the party line that we were on, and so then I got to know her back from school, but also was listening on our calls as well. But we grew up in the same neighborhood, and I guess when she was younger and I was younger, we didn't get along that good. But somehow in school we got attached to each other, and so we graduated high school together. In fact, I dropped out of school in the 10th grade, and I had a little job at the restaurant, and I thought I was, had a few pennies in my pocket. I didn't need to go to school. But then when I saw the people that was in my class graduating, moving forward, I said, I know I got more on the ball than these people, and they graduating. I'm not. I decided to go back. I went back to school, and so it put me a year behind, which put me in the same class that she was in. But I graduated a year later, and so by being an older person, they elected me as president of the senior class, and I had a automobile to drive, and so all the girls was kind of after me a little bit, and she just happened to be one to catch me. So yeah, we met at school. We were high school sweethearts.
High school sweethearts.
Mm-hmm.
And what year did you graduate?
We got married in 1960, and been married to the same woman ever since. Yeah.
1960. So, can you describe what life was like for black people during this time?
The reason I wanted to make the move to come to California because of economics, as well as some of the injustice that was afforded black people at that time. There's certain things that you did that you would automatically do because you was there, because you expected to do it. Certain things you was exposed to that you just automatically did it because this was accepted. You didn't know, you knew what lines not to cross. I remember when we came to California in 1962. I stopped and asked one morning, asked the guy, can we go in there to eat? He said, man, you're in California now, you can go anywhere you want to go. Well, I found that not to be true, because in 1963, I had a job working with California Surveying Company in Indio, California, and we were staying at a hotel there, motel, and so my brother-in-law and I went swimming after we got off work in the swimming pool. The next time we was in town, the manager from that hotel came and asked us. He didn't tell us, he came and asked us, would you please not swim in the pool? We had a lot of people traveling this way from the south, and they they don't understand things the way we do. So he put it. So he offered to give us a TV in our room and everything. We wouldn't. But we stayed out of the swimming pool. Well, that was in 1963. In 1973, I went to Texas A&M to a fire training school. To show you how things had not really changed that much. After spending all day at fire training school, decided to get off work, came home, took a shower. Me and a couple of other Caucasian guys, we flew down there together. Decided to go out and drink some beer. But when we went into this beer place, they told one of the guys I was with, said, we don't serve him in here. So why don't you serve him in here? Because he's colored. So to show you things hadn't really changed that much from 60s to the 70s. Was still a lot of prejudice going on. Where black people wasn't afforded certain places to go.
So what did Compton look like when you purchased your home?
Compton was really A1. When I purchased my home, it was A1. I mean, the streets were clean. We had more business in Compton. There was car dealerships. There were motorcycle shops, dealerships. Over the years, everything just kind of left Compton. In fact, downtown Compton was downtown Compton. It was really nice to go downtown Compton. It got burned down during the 1965 riots, yeah. So a whole lot has changed. It's different altogether from when I first moved to Compton, what it is now.
So can you describe the first riots and where you were when it was taking place?
First riot I was living in Imperial Courts. In fact, I remember 103rd Street in Watts being burned down. I remember I was working swing shift at Mattel, and how we would have to go through the various roadblocks to get back home from work. You had to stop. They would stop these roadblocks and make everybody get out of the car, search you, everything, before you get home. But because of the curfews that they had during the riots. So that was the first riot, 1965 riot. Yeah.
So when it comes to raising your kids in Compton, how was that experience?
We had a very good neighborhood. Family-like gathering. We all got together. We had block parties. In fact, sometimes we'll go on picnics, like the Griffith Park. So it might be 4 or 5 families on a Sunday afternoon going to a picnic, going out together, Point Herman, to have a picnic. We'd all go together as families. So it was really, really good, yeah. Kids playing in the streets, They used to actually play football in the streets, you know. The streets didn't have a whole bunch of cars. There wasn't people parking on their lawns like they did. Compton was a really nice place.
And when it came to the riots in the '90s, where were you and how did it affect you?
It didn't really. I didn't let it affect me, but I probably should have been more involved than I was. But I kind of let this is what I had to do, you know. Uh, so it didn't really affect me that much.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Well, can you talk a little bit about I want to say Mark, and then also like how raising your grandkids and how that, I guess, how that experience was during, as they were younger. Now, they're grown, they're creating their own families and things like that. Like what influence you may have had on them and how, important it is for you to see them.
I'm very proud of Mark, Michelle. In fact, to see what they have accomplished. Uh, Mark's mother, my oldest daughter, it's the mother of Michelle and Mark. All of my kids, my kids, I would say they grew up to have good jobs, uh, supported by themselves, not dependent on their parents. Uh, and they drifted down to Mark and Michelle. They're very uh, independent. I'm proud of their accomplishments. Uh, the generations in my family having forced moving on to higher education, Mark and Michelle has excelled in that way. In fact, Michelle has received her doctorates. Mark is received his master's. So it's something that hadn't been accomplished in my family, but they moved us to a higher level with their education.
What is something that you were most proud of as a father?
Seeing my kids grow up and being independent, to see them maintaining the family values. One thing that my dad taught us, we would, as family, we would. He said, you choose your friends, but your family is yours, regardless. So you have to learn to stick together. And I remember once he sit us all down and he did a demonstration with some sticks. He took one stick and he broke it. He says, "How easy that is to break." Then two, more difficult. When he got through with all of us together, it was he couldn't break it. So if you stick together, nobody can break you. But if you let other people separate you, it's going to easily be done. You can be separated. So um, we just sit down to dinner, and talk about issues of the day. And the times that I treasure is seeing my kids grow up to higher, get a higher education now.
What is can you tell me about a time or trip that y'all all had, you know, having your kids and doing things at that time? I know it was always like parks and different visits and things you would do together. Could you tell me about a time that y'all all were together that you remember?
Most of the times, and it's sad to say, but most of the time when families all get together, uh, involving a death of someone in the family. So in 1985, my brother, he passed away early. He and one of my first cousins, they decided to put together a family reunion. And we had our first family reunion in 1985 in Montgomery, Alabama. And we kept that tradition going up until the pandemic. The last family reunion we held was in 2019. But those were the good times that we come together as a family, a family reunion. We'd have them every 2 years. Either be sometime here in California, Atlanta, Georgia, Birmingham, Alabama. Went to South Carolina. So those were really, really good times when just seeing family together, come together, the family reunions.
So, not to, I'm jumping forward and backwards, but I didn't ask this question. I want to ask too. Is when where were you when Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated, and what feelings did you have when that happened?
I was working at the refinery at the time, and there was still a lot of prejudice during that time. In fact, that people, they would talk in the riddles, try to think they're talking above you, sometimes certain things was said, but they wouldn't say things directly to you. I was really devastated when it happened. In fact, I remember when John Kennedy was shot. And I was working at Mattel at the time when he got shot. And they shut the plant down, let everybody go home. When Mr. King got shot, it was a sad day, but they didn't give the recognition that they gave to John Kennedy. So, how did it affect me? It was really, really sad. Because I thought King he was really doing a good job.
Okay. I was just like, man, let me ask this question. So, working with refining, what made you stay in that field?
There were opportunities to move up. So it wasn't like I was at a dead end situation. It was opportunity to advance to make more money, and so that's why I stayed there. And when they shut down, uh, that's when I still was still in the general field of finding, but on the other side as a vendor, we're selling chemicals to the refinery. So it was a good living.
What is something that you, if you haven't, or actually, it's something that you can leave with your children, or something that you know you want to leave to your grandkids that you have or may haven't told them?
I always tell them to value time. Only time you have is now. Nothing's more important than that. Don't put off today for tomorrow. Don't procrastinate. And one of the things is doing something, find something to do that you like to do and get paid for it. Then it's not a job anymore, it's a career. So I would say that finding something to do that they would like that they like doing, enjoying it, and then get paid for it.
Just you as like who you are now.
Mm.
85 years old, a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, and obviously you credit your father, you know, where you kind of get that from. But how did you stay so straightforward, on the straight and narrow, growing up in Compton or living in Compton, and you know, with the distractions that we all know about? Like, what kept you grounded, you know, to become 85 and still kicking and, you know, with all the distractions and stuff? So.
Well, I guess if you talk about the you know, there's been always, and probably always will be, some kind of gang relationship wherever you live. In fact, even I was raised up in Rodale. There were certain people that lived on one side of the road. Then we lived on the other side of the road. So we were, well, that's what our clan. But when moving to Compton as an adult, I never really, I used to got entangled with the gangs or anything like that. The opportunity part was there to do it, but being God fearing, I didn't get involved in nothing like that, and always tried to stress to my kids not to get involved, you know, with gangs. So I give credit not to me but to the good Lord, you know, and His guidance. Yeah.
What about, and one thing that I know is like being raised by you, and everybody know you as Pops from the neighborhood, you know, from members of church. that they all look up to you in this sense, you know, and I always say like you're the ideal man, right? Like how does that make you feel? I think just knowing that the legacy that you leave behind is inspiring to so many other men to become the best versions of themselves. How does that make you feel now, at 85? And did you see that before you got to this point? Like, was that a part of you, like, just your identity, right? Is that the question? Like, it's,
I don't want to disappoint anyone. I want to live up to try to live up to what they expect, but I still give God the honor and the glory, So it's not me. It's I want people to see Him through me, but giving all credit to God.
Okay. And if there was not just to your kids or your grandkids, but a quote that you would want to leave to everyone.
Value time. I remember my youngest granddaughter. Well, I went to Grandparents' Day at school with her, and now she's an adult, but it seemed like it was just yesterday that this took place. My grandson, our youngest grandson, picking him up from school, and now he come pick me up and take me around. So time is very fleeting. Don't put off today for tomorrow. If you have anything against anyone, don't harbor it. Get it straight, because time is valuable. Because tomorrow might be too late. Don't procrastinate. Do what you have to do.
You mentioned time when you went to the bar and the gentleman told your friend like, hey, you know what, we can't serve him. All those things. Did any of those type of situations happen in Alabama, where I know when I grew up, my grandfather would tell me different stories when he was growing up in Virginia and how people would treat him and things like that. But you talked about it being here in California. How was that like in Alabama?
Well, the way I was raised up in Alabama is that you knew not to do that. In fact, your parents told you what to do. For your protection, they taught you that certain things that you wouldn't do around the white man. And it wasn't. It was for your protection. So you was raised to give. You just a certain place you didn't go. As far as the water fountain, the restroom, and so forth, it was just an accepted way of life when I was coming up. And then moving to California, things start to change, but there's certain things that you just to do. Whether it was right or wrong, I know it was wrong, but you just didn't cross those lines. We had a section of town that black folks hung out in, and other places where white folks you just didn't go. Just about 17 miles from where I was born. of the black man that was lynched because he burst into a white man's horse. And this is history. My first cousin was beat up real bad by the sheriff of that county for no reason at all. As far as the Ku Klux Klan, I never saw a burning cross, but I never really saw one myself, but I heard about them. I never saw any Ku Klux Klan with the hoods on. I heard about them. Yeah. So I didn't have that experience to see it myself.
And at that time, you went to a segregated school.
Yes.
What was that experience like? Who were your teachers? Were they all black? Like, how was that?
Oh, yeah. All the teachers were black. In fact, we used to, probably during that time, we would probably get, from the Board of Education, we get hand-me-down books and stuff like that. But we took advantage of those books, you know. All my teachers were black. From first grade to the 12th. Yeah.
And was there like a what were the resources like in terms of books, things of that nature? Were you learning Black history? Were you learning about Black folk in your high school? Like, how does that work? How did that look?
We were taught history. We were taught Black history. In fact, in the morning, we were taught. We get up. You go to class. You have a devotion. So you would get up and pray, and everything before you started. You had devotion before you would start going to classes. So we were taught Black history. We were taught about George Washington Carver, Booker T. Washington. Yeah, those things were taught in school. Yeah. You know, if you hear about something going on like that back there right now, or anywhere, yeah, it would bother you. You know, you know the injustice. But at the time during that time they was having the Freedom Riders and the Senate at the Richmond counters. And of course in Birmingham, they were hosing people down with fire hoses and sticking dogs on them and so forth. Yeah. Yeah, it bothered me. I didn't like it, but I guess the one didn't directly affect me, you know, because well, I guess in a sense, I stayed in my place, and you know, and I feel down that I should have probably did more. I could have done more, but for the cause, and even with the integration, I don't think that was the answer to our problem. I think that integration we lost quite a bit, as far as black-owned stores. The school that I graduated from shut down. There's no school anymore. Because they went to this white school, which was better off, better equipped. So the Board of Education just didn't keep those schools going, you know. So yeah, we lost quite a bit doing for us being integrated. We're fighting for integration, but we should have been fighting for like more civil rights or equal rights instead of integration. Yeah.
What is your take? Do you think it would have been better off that we would have stayed desegregated?
Say it again.
Do you think we would have been better off if we would have stayed desegregated?
I believe we'd been better off if we'd the estate, as long as we had equal rights. Yeah. Integration did not afford equal rights. Because black people were still getting jobs that, even though black people was doing the same job, they was getting paid less than white people. Black people wasn't allowed to move in certain areas because they were black. So their rights was not afforded. So just to be integrated, I didn't care nothing about having to go to school with white folks. All I want to do is just be treated equal. Yeah. And I think that's what we missed out on, is too much concentration on segregation or integration, when it should have been concentrated on equal rights, being treated fairly. That's something that we even still face with today. There's a lot of places where we're not treated fair.
What made you refrain from, like, joining, like, the Black Panthers, or, you know what I'm saying, like a revolutionary party? What made you refrain from doing that?
Didn't want nothing to happen with my wife and kids for that protection. Yeah. Didn't want to expose myself to anything that would bring danger to them. That would put them in harm's way. They say a turkey, when it get dark, it stops and it pull younger turkeys underneath her wings, and she sit there, and it start to rain, but she protecting those youngsters on her wing. Pretty soon the water gets up around her neck, but she still got those turkeys under her wing. She thinks she protected them. When she's not, they're actually dead because they're under her wings. Sometimes, we are overprotected, and which will cause the other person not to develop and being the stronger they should be. So Sometimes we have to let a bird in an egg. If you crack the egg open, it gains strength by cracking that egg open. But if you crack it open for them, they're gonna suffer because they're not gonna be strong enough to deal with what they're gonna face in the world. So you have to learn to let people hit some hard knocks sometimes to gain the strength.